Hello, everybody. This is Beige with the Knights, and we're here today talking about our last NFT drop with Theta Labs. I'm joined by Angelica.
Hey.
And then Jack.
Hi.
Could you both give a small description of, well, we'll start with Angelica. What do you do with the Knights?
I'm Angelica Cirabella. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Knights. I've been with the Knights since like 2018, 2017, so for a really long time. And, I'm trying to think up ways to connect fans and partners to our brand. That's what I'm in charge of with the Knights.
Okay, awesome. And Jack, can you give us a small description of who you are?
Yeah, I'm Jack Martin. I'm the artist that I was brought on to design the third wave of the Knights NFT collection. I'm an animator. I like to do compositing. And really, it's been a pleasure just getting to work on this.
Okay, first things first, how do we go about finding Jack and deciding, like, you know what, this guy's a guy for our drop?
I feel like this is going to be like a dual answer question because Julie helped find you, right? And Julie works in our business development department, and she helped find Jack. We were looking for somebody who was Pittsburgh based and who had art that we liked, right? That was like the level. And so there's a lot of people that were, applying for the position from outside of Pittsburgh, but we weren't really into that. There were some people from Pittsburgh, but we didn't really like their style. But then when we saw Jack's work, we were like, this is what we're clicking with right now. But I don't exactly know how Julie got in contact with you. How did Julie do that?
So it started out with a really well-known Pittsburgh artist called Ramon Riley. He teaches at Pine Ridgeland. Julie got in contact with him. And she was like, hey, do you have anyone who, might be able to fit this bill that we have? And he was like, yeah, I got just the guy. So he calls me up and I get in contact with Julie and that's where it went.
What do you like about this NFT drop compared to the first two that we dropped?
So this one is Knight's World, and the first one was Knight Commander. The second one was Knight Games, and so this is Knight's World. First one, we were trying to capture sort of like the vibe of the Knights, right? If you remember those, it was like this
futuristic soldier.
Yeah, like exactly, right? And that was sort of trying to get, and we were using lots of like Knights insignia, like Knights branding, and we were trying to really showcase like what the Knights look like. Then for the next one, we were trying to talk about the games that we were in, right? So we had a lot of like Rocket League inspiration. We had a lot of Valorant inspiration. And then for this one, we wanted to talk more about like what's contributed to the Knights and like what makes the Knights who we are. And so for us, that really comes down to Pittsburgh and technology, and specifically like gaming technology. So we were trying to meld those two ideas, like what has helped build us up from Pittsburgh. So we took a lot of inspiration from like just major landmarks in the area to also sort of the teams and people that support us, like the Steelers and the Pirates. And then we also wanted to, like I said, tie in sort of that technology. So you're going to see a lot of really cool peripherals, and you're going to see a lot of gaming computer kind of stuff. So that's what we were trying to capture with this collection.
Okay. So from being from Pittsburgh, do you feel like it made it a bit easier for you to do that type of style?
Yeah. I mean, a big part of it is just like being able to harken back to like the spirit of Pittsburgh through the use of very iconic imagery, buildings, bridges, landmarks, things that you'd really only would recognize if you've been to the city before.
Okay, so one thing I do like about it's like the futuristic style, like with it, it's like it ties, like it adds that Pittsburgh flair, but it also has like a kind of like futuristic Tron-like look to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know James likes that, and like so it fits in perfectly. So was that like easy for you to incorporate to Pittsburgh? Because I know Pittsburgh's a hardworking steel mill town where it's like kind of gritty, but I seen that you added a futuristic style to it.
I've got some thoughts too.
Yeah.
Just like
both.
Yeah, because Pittsburgh, well, we traditionally have been like this blue-collar steel town, right? And I think in the past few decades, we've really made the push to become more
Tech heavy.
yeah, like very much so, especially with the universities and the businesses that are coming into Pittsburgh. And if you look at sort of what our output is, we do have a lot of tech focused stuff. Like we have Google offices here. We have CMU that's working on so much cool stuff with robotics and technology. So in that regard, like I think that we are trying to sort of repaint what Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh is trying to repaint what the world sees Pittsburgh as, so that we're getting more of this like technological future-based stuff that's happening here. Even if you think about like all of the medical advancements that are happening in Pittsburgh, there really is like this push, and I think that we know that when we're here in Pittsburgh, like we know that we have all of this cool technology stuff. We know that we have all of, you know, the self-driving cars driving around and all of this stuff. Like when you drive down in the Strip District and you're like, why are these cars driving themselves? Like we know that we're doing all of this technology stuff, but not the rest of the world. The rest of the world doesn't necessarily know that.
True, you're absolutely right, because they probably do, like when they, anytime we go out of state, people do just assume that it's a steel mill. They're like, you got steel mills, right?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Or when people come to Pittsburgh, they're always like, it's really nice here. I had no idea that it's going to be so nice. We're like, yeah, we know it's nice.
I've been so. What's this?
Yeah, amazing. Right? Like, yeah, so I think that part of the futuristic look ties into a little bit of that we're trying to show, like, this is what we know that Pittsburgh is meant to be. Let's show the rest of the world.
So to a degree, I'm kind of disappointed that I never really got to dive super deep into the industrial side of things with Pittsburgh. But I think that in terms of like really selling the project, sort of tying it back into previous drops, the transition from that sort of cold industrial Pittsburgh to the new tech heavy foot forward Pittsburgh was kind of necessary.
So what was your like thought process when creating these? Like what made you, like I know, like I assume we gave them like an idea of what we want, but we can give you an idea, but that can only go so far. You have to visualize what you're making. So what helped you visualize what you made?
Yeah, so like there was like a little statement that I was given that like really stuck with me, and it was a combination of the gaming tech and the Pittsburgh of today, and that was really just sort of like the thesis for everything that I wanted to do moving forward.
Even like the first pictures that you drew, right? Like what was the inspiration behind those? Because I feel like those were totally you, right? Those pictures where we were just like Pittsburgh, and then you're like, okay, well let me like reimagine PPG Place. That's the one that sticks out to me, with like all of these cool sort of like, you had like this greenery and just like, it was like this like
waterfall and stuff.
Yeah, like it was this sort of like futuristic space. It made me think of like, you know, like a sci-fi movie almost, where like nature,
utopia?
Yeah, like nature starts to take back over the industrial like past. That's what it seemed like to me, which is futuristic in a different way. But like,
Yeah.
so yeah, how did you come up with that?
I wanted to sort of like come up with an idea that like sort of insists on the idea that both of these halves, the gaming tech side and the robust historical Pittsburgh side, would rely on one another in a way. And I think that the way that I incorporated them into this project really speaks to that.
Oh, for sure. You know what, too? Like, all of the images, if you really think about it, they have something that's like this old Pittsburgh, like we're talking about, combined with like this new tech forward thing. Like even just thinking about the incline with the microphone. Do you know what I mean? It's it's like old with new, and like the Three River Stadium with the, what's it called? Like the computer.
The keyboard?
No, it's that one's like what's the fan on the computer?
Oh, yeah.
CPU.
Yeah, the CPU.
CPU heatsink.
Yeah, right? Like, so it is all of this like old stuff, or even like, I mean, all of it.
Dinosaur with
The dinosaur, right? So that's like Carnegie. That's, you know, obviously like dinosaurs, you know, but like, it's just cool. There was a lot of old mixed with new. And I think that also just like came from you being able to like meld those together in a really cool way. Like I flipped when I saw the incline on the microphone.
Yeah, that one was
that was
really
so
good.
cool.
I
I
do
was like, that
like
was such
that.
a good idea.
I think that was like one of the first
Yeah.
first things that we came up with.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that carried all the way through to the end.
So we're gonna switch to esports a bit. So Angelica, you've been working in esports since 2018. How has esports changed over the years, and how has the Knights changed over the years?
Okay, I'll say that I feel like esports has changed since I started really paying attention. It has completely blown up. I feel like I started really tuning in when it was like right on the cusp of going from, you know, people just playing because they're passionate, and people obviously are still playing because they're passionate, but to like blowing up into superstardom, right? And that's what made me be like, well, like esports, like my antennas were going. And then as far as the Knights, like how have the Knights changed? They've grown exponentially. Like it's crazy. I was with the Knights when we were, so was Alex, like when we were, you know, in a room, like above a like a 7-Eleven, you know, where we just had like tables and like some computers. I don't even know where the computers came from. And then we got like one team and we were like, yes, let's go. And we were just trying to, you know, like do what we loved, and to, you know, partnering with the Steelers, partnering with the Pirates, partnering with Wiz Khalifa, getting all of these teams, making all of these connections with game developers, starting our tournaments, you know, just truly exponential growth. It's kind of crazy to see how much we've grown in really just like 5 years. So it makes me think like, well, if we did that in 5 years, like what's the next 5 years going to be?
True.
It's a lot coming.
Right. It had like have done a lot within the 5 years. What's one of your favorite moments you've experienced with being with the Knights?
Oh, that's a good question. What's one of my favorite moments?
Or a moment that sticks out to you?
Honestly, this, like getting this partnership with Riot to run the Challengers League, the Valorant Challengers NA, that's been pretty exciting. That's been really cool to see. I don't know if it's like, if you can see it from the outside yet, how big it is, but internally that's been a huge moment for the Knights. And everybody at the Knights is pumped, psyched, like really excited. So that feels like one of the biggest things to me that I've seen. That, and maybe like having Malkin sign on, because I really like your getting Malkin.
No, I get it. I get that.
Do you know what I mean? Like all of the people that have signed on, like when the Steelers signed, huge celebration. When Wiz Khalifa came on as a strategic partner, like huge celebrations. When the Pirates came on, huge celebrations. But like I'm a hockey fan, and I've been following Malkin since I was in high school, so that was really cool for me.
And how would you describe the relationships you've made over the years within esports?
Oh, they're some of my favorite people. And I don't like making friends. I don't. I just like, I have my friends from middle school and I'm like, that's good. I don't need any more friends. But the people that I've met in esports have been so cool, so open, so welcoming, and so passionate. Like that's really cool to see. People who are so dedicated and just passionate about what they're doing. That's really exciting to be around in a way that I haven't seen in other industries that I've worked in. And
what would you say is the difference between other esports teams and the Knights?
Ooh, Roger, that's some good questions. The difference between other esports teams and the Knights is that we are built from the people who built esports. We are built from the OGs, right? And so our group, the Knights, know esports better, care about esports more, and are ready to lay down everything to build one of the top teams in esports. I mean, that's it. The Knights haven't been around the longest. I know that there are other esports teams that have been around longer, but I'm telling you, the people that have built the Knights, when you look at like the Jameses and the Garretts, and you know, there's so many people in the Knights that have been around since the beginning of esports, right? I'm serious. When nobody was making money, when nobody was, you know, broadcasting to millions. Yeah, it was a pride thing. It was a team thing. It was a competitive thing. You know, we've got this really cool group of people who were all pro players, and that means that they're serious competitive pros.
Yeah, you're right, because like James, Garrett, Sunman.
Oh yeah.
Jasper was a pro.
Everybody.
So it's like, it's interesting because it's like, it's not like a corporation or some guy with a bunch of money who's like, let's make a team. It's made from real life competitors of when esports actually first birthed, like became a thing. It's like the OG people. So I get that. So what is your thoughts? Like, were you a fan of esports? And if not, what are your thoughts on esports now?
Well, I've got a couple of buddies who are like super into esports, so they'll always like talk off my ear about like some League of Legends championship thing that was being played like the last weekend or something or the other. So I didn't come into this as like a fan of esports, but you know, walking away, I have a new appreciation for the streamers and the talent that all goes into something like this.
Do you play any video games? Oh, sorry, can I?
That was perfect. That was actually what I was going to ask.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I play a couple of video games. I'm not like a huge gamer, but you know, like big sort of single player RPGs are more my speed.
Okay.
I suppose the closest I've ever been to like a competitive thing was back in like the OG Overwatch days, 2016 to 17.
That was important.
Yeah.
The golden age is what I like to call it. So would you say, are there any games that you're a fan of now, since like working with the Knights, like something like, you know what, I might try and pick up, even though I know you said you're more about solo player. You might want to dive into Valorant, Rocket League, Rainbow Six, PUBG Mobile, who knows?
I've got a lot of people who I talk to who are like super into Valorant, so I think I might be able to like take the dive, try that out. That's gonna be like the next big thing. If I get hooked, you're not gonna see me for like another few months, and I hope that nothing goes wrong with the launch.
Yeah, well, we've got some people who will play Valorant with you. We'll hook you up. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like we have the whole program. We have the Valorant Academy Discord, so another reason to join that Discord, people. You get to practice with great pros and all that type of stuff, so it's a good place to join. What would you say? What are some things people can look for from the Knights for 2023?
Knights Arena Valorant Challengers NA is going to be the biggest one. We're running the Valorant Challengers League for North America. It's going to be 12 teams competing 3 times a week in Knights Arena. It's going to be huge. We've also got all of our regularly scheduled programming. We've got gauntlets, we've got Sakura Cups, so we've got a lot of really cool events happening, plus, you know, Apex quarterlies, Rocket League quarterlies. So events-wise, we've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. We've got, you know, our Rocket League team. We made some cool changes there. There's a lot to look out for. We've got some, you know, really high hopes for them this year. We've got, what else? We've got some really cool like content coming your way. I mean, you can talk to Alex about that, but we've got some cool plans for what we're going to do content-wise. What? Follow at Knights Twitter. Right. to stay on top of it.
Link, follow our social to stay up to date.
Yeah.
So after this, like or do you plan on working on any more NFT projects?
I mean, I guess we'll have to see where this leads me. I don't have anything in mind at the moment, but you know, if another one comes along, I probably wouldn't say no.
Like, would you work with the Knights again? Did we drive you so crazy that she would politely bow out? And she's like, no, I'm really busy doing some other things. Like, what are the odds that we could get you to do something with us again? Be honest.
Probably pretty honest. It wasn't a terrible experience.
Just to be clear, we called him constantly. We were like, can you change this one thing? Can you do this other thing? Can you make this a different color? Can you put a scarf higher on the neck of the dinosaur? We were like,
the project. Hang on a second.
We're like, show PPG placed from a different angle. We're like, no, not that angle. Different. Like, I feel so bad. We called you. You were so kind. Like, truly.
I feel like you kind of need that so you can get like, because again, these NFTs look amazing.
They look so good. I'm sorry, but they really do.
To go into that, like, what was that like? Like, is this the first time you've dealt with like, hey, call the 3?
Oh yeah.
No, I'm all into that, but you know, sort of like the area of generative art. That's definitely been like the first big foray into it. But no, talking my ear off and being like, we really need you to like change this and this and that in like the next 5-ish days. That's just part of the job.
Okay, good. I'm glad it wasn't just us.
Don't feel like you're right now.
Because we were constantly like, oh no, we feel so bad. We're just gonna like bother Jack, because we, you know, everything that he showed us honestly was so cool, but we were just like so particular in our heads about like what we wanted to see and what we wanted to capture. And then like you're saying, like this regenerative aspect where like, so what, you know, what can we tweak? And we're getting all of these insights about like, what can we do to make all of these, because there's hundreds of there's hundreds of pieces, right? So you created this opportunity for hundreds of unique pieces of artwork, and that's not easy. You know what I mean? To come up with all of the different ways to do that. So we did do a lot of calls.
All right, let's get down here. Which one do you hope to get? If like,
Oh, okay.
it's a rolling a dice.
I know.
You won, so
That's actually really hard because I want to say a few of them, but I think I would have to go with the Diplodocus and the keyboard. I just
same here.
I just love. Thank you.
My favorite one. It just hits at home.
Right?
It just hits at home. It's like
That dinosaur, when you're driving down, what is it? Is it Forbes? When you're driving down Forbes in Oakland and you see that dinosaur, I'm just like really feels like Pittsburgh to me. And also just like I've always been a super big fan of the Carnegie Museums, right? Specifically the Carnegie Museum of Natural History. Like you guys have been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the best. It's the best natural history museum, and I've been to them in a lot of different states. I went to the Natural History Museum in New York, and I just remember thinking like, this sucks compared to ours. Like they have nothing on Pittsburgh. Like our dinosaurs are better than anybody else's dinosaurs. And Dippy the dinosaur out front is just like so iconically Pittsburgh, I feel like, right? And I just remember when we were showing people in the Knights who aren't from Pittsburgh, and I was like, yeah, and so here's this dinosaur. They were like, why this dinosaur? And I'm like, because it's Dippy the dinosaur. And they're like, what's Dippy the dinosaur? I'm like, well, it's a Diplodocus that lives at the, Carnegie Museum of Natural History. And everybody's like, it's a Diplo what? I'm like, you guys, like,
get cultured.
like, right? And I loved how we were able to like put the merch on him, a little bit of like Knights flair, because they do that in real life.
Yeah, because they do decorate them during the seasons and everything.
On him, and they put hats on him, and it just warms my heart when I see that.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like one of the things that I feel like makes Pittsburgh so cool and fun, right? It's just like our thing. Like we know. That's why we needed somebody from Pittsburgh to do this.
It's funny because we do have a lot of dinosaur statues all around Pittsburgh.
Because of our amazing history museum. Yeah.
I got one in my backyard.
See? For real?
Yeah, I always saw it.
Don't say that.
This may or not think. He's joking.
Oh, nothing to have any fight.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Wait, so which dinosaur do you have in your backyard?
It was the Triceratops looking one with 3 horns.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. But yeah, because there are dinosaurs, for people who don't know, there are dinosaurs all around Pittsburgh as part of like I don't know if you'd call it like an art installation, but it happened, like a decade ago? And they were everywhere.
Scattered around downtown.
And it's really cool. And all of these different organizations have, for example, like right outside of WTAE studios, they have a dinosaur, or they had, I don't know if they have it anymore, they had one dressed like Mr. Rogers, right? Or not WTAE, WQED. You know what I mean, guys. Pittsburghers now, WQED. Yeah, that was a neighbor of Dippy the dinosaur, right, down in Oakland. So that's so cool you have one in your backyard. OMG, I'm kind of jealous, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, same. Teach us the ways of getting a dinosaur.
Well, how do we go on? Talk to us after.
So when you were creating these, did you go to these landmarks again, like to get like hey, I'm gonna look at this so I can know what I'm putting?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to all the landmarks again?
So this is where I pull back the curtain a little bit. I wasn't actually in Pittsburgh around the time that I was doing this.
That's okay. He's from Pittsburgh. It's in his blood.
Yeah,
He knows.
it counts.
He grew up around it.
Right.
Yeah, but no, I actually used a lot of satellite images and
Oh, cool.
Google Maps, things like that, to really get like the scale and the feel of things. I know for specifically the PPG thing. I pulled up like a satellite image and I was counting all the spikes.
Oh my gosh.
There's work in progress shots of just like organizing how tall the buildings are, just sort of like using local landmarks, figuring out like how many, because some of the buildings, there's like, I think it's like 2, has only like spikes on one side and the other side is taken up by like a different building.
Yeah.
And it was, so that was,
He got into it.
that was those sort of research that I was looking at for something like this.
But some of them, some he can't visit. Like you can't go and see Three River Stadium anymore.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So how old were you when that happened? Where were you when they imploded Three River Stadium? This is like a big thing.
Probably swaddled in my mother's arms.
Oh my gosh, you were a baby. Oh wow, because it was a really big deal. Like I'm the oldest one here, so I'll just tell you guys. back in the day in 2001, it was a really big deal when they imploded Three River Stadium and people bought tickets to go and watch. And all of the restaurants on Mount Washington hosted these like implosion parties. And it was a really big deal. And I remember I was with my dad at this restaurant called Monterey Bay, and they have walls of glass, and we all went and we watched when they like exploded the building, but it was called the implosion.
It was a really big deal. You must have been a kid too.
I was like 9. I just didn't do the math in my head. I'm like, how old was I back in 2001? But I was 9. So it's like, I don't remember it, but I remember hearing stories of it, because you're right. I remember people saying people bought tickets to go see this happen. Because anytime we blow up a building in Pittsburgh, everyone wants to go watch it and just see it implode.
Is that Three River Stadium? That was wild. I mean,
That's wild. I mean, did you ever go to Three River Stadium when you were a kid?
I think so, like as a field trip, but it's like, I think I was like too young to really like it take everything in.
I remember being there. I remember being in Three River Stadium a lot because it had the football games and the Pirates games, right? And so my dad used to bring me all the time. Like we sat in the nosebleed seats, but like I just remember being there, and it's all cement. It's all cement from the outside, but guess what? It's all cement on the inside too. I lost my first tooth when I was there. I was eating a Snickers bar, for anybody who wants to know. It was a very big deal. So it's like permanently ingrained in my memory.
Have you ever rode the what's it called? It's the one on the mic.
the incline?
Yeah. Have you ever rode the incline?
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on the incline?
Great in the winter, suffocatingly hot in the summer.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I remember it was during last year. It was the Pirates night. Pirates gaming night. And I remember we did a photo shoot. And I just remember we were like, let's go do photos in there. And then after the first, because we went down, but then back up. After going down, we're like, yeah, this was kind of a mistake right now. It's like 98 degrees, feels like 200 degrees in these.
Open the windows, get a try.
In the wintertime, it's great. It's beautiful. Look at us gliding over the snow-covered trees. And in the summertime, it's like, it's a glass box.
No, it's bad.
You have to sit quietly in for 2 minutes.
Future, this is just a suggestion for them. Maybe put mini air conditioners in here so people aren't melting.
It's
A box fan.
at least a box fan.
Put the head in there.
They do.
It's just hot. It's just when it gets so hot.
I don't think they can put air conditioners in there, because if you go, first off, it's like a tiny museum that you ride up and down a mountain. Like, let's be right. It's historical. And even though like the seat, everything inside that little box, it's all wooden. Like, you go in there and you're just like, they are not modernizing that. Sorry, Roger. There's not going to be any air conditioning in there. Yeah, if you go in the summer, just be ready. Just, wear your shorts and your tank top. You'll be,
A couple ice creams.
yeah, you guys will be fine. But like, people really do use that to travel to work and stuff. You know, like up and down from Mount Washington down to the south side into town.
Just don't do it during the summers.
Don't do it during the summer.
And where can they go to pick up this NFT drop?
It's at thetadrop.com, and you'll see they have a marketplace there, and you can add it to your cart and go ahead and buy it.
All right. And do you have any final words that you want to say where we can, if people want to reach out to you to check out your artwork or see your future animation projects?
Yeah, sure. I have a Twitter that I post pretty infrequently on, just sort of like for I don't know, projects, things that I might get working on. It's called sleazy_Jack at Twitter. Yeah, that's the handle. It's just Sleazy Jack.
Perfect.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you to your amazing guests. We got to get the lowdown to our latest and last NFT drop. We talked a little bit about challengers, which is going to be huge this year. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of the future Knights projects and videos that we'll be making this year, because trust me, it's going to be really big and amazing this year.
Check out Knights Arena for sure.
Check out Knights Arena and make sure to join the Knights Discord. But until next time, peace out.